Compared to the ambitious compositions that comprise his Opus 1, the trio Opus 11 is a bonbon. It was composed a couple of years after the Opus 1 set and published in 1798. As you'll be able to tell at a glance from the first page of score, this composition was published as Beethoven's fourth trio. However, a closer look at the score betrays the fact that the work was actually intended for clarinet, cello, and piano, with the violin part published as an alternative to the wind part, probably with a view to increasing sales. As you watch the score in this case, you'll want to ignore the second staff down, whose music is mostly identical to that of the top staff, the violin staff, except that, being written for the B-flat clarinet, it is presented a step higher. If you'd like to hear this trio with its originally intended instrumentation, there are plenty of performances available right here on the Tube of You. I need to say something else about the score. As I've indicated before, I get these scores from the online International Music Score Library project. That's imslp.org. And what I present represents the work of volunteers, probably mostly graduate students, who scan them and upload them to the site. Anyone who's ever tried to photocopy a musical score knows exactly how difficult it is to get the magnification and placement right, and the results are predictably mixed. I spend a lot of time cutting these scores apart, editing out the ink blotches, wine stains, fly specks, and rehearsal notes, cleaning them up as best I can. There are, however, some things that are simply beyond the curative powers of the Atheist Codger, such as clipped margins and big blobs of black ink on the left and right. I've done what I could. This work is quite short, less than 20 minutes worth of music all told, presented in 3 movements, not 4. In this recording, we will again hear violinist Itzhak Perlman, cellist Lynn Harrell, and pianist Vladimir Ashkenazy in a release by EMI Classics. Movement 1 is an expansive sonata-form movement in B-flat major, whose themes, for the most part, are self-contained. Witness the opening unison gesture's emphatic close on the tonic in measure form. There are some truly Beethovenian touches, the finest being an adroit sidestep onto G minor during the transition and the return of that music in the flat submediant to open the development section. In this recording, the indicated exposition repeat is ignored, so it may take several listenings to realize how thoroughly pared down the recapitulation is. I've indicated the truncations in my running commentary and hope that will be useful to you. The central adagio movement is set in the warmer subdominant key and also follows the sonata form plan. Its main theme is a gorgeous song for the cello, filled with yearning, restated by the violin and piano in a kind of canonic duet. The harmonic scheme of the exposition is exactly what historical precedent leads us to expect, but the development section includes a real surprise. That development begins in E-flat minor, but soon finds its way via a delicious enharmonic modulation to the shimmering key of E major. This beautiful touch has a parallel in the final movement, about which more later. The trio concludes with a movement in variations form. The theme is a quotation from Joseph Weigel's popular, then new comic opera Love at Sea, written just a year earlier. The variations on this bright, chipper little tune range from comic to serious, two of them set in E-flat minor, and most following the same formal plan as the thema, or theme for varying. Exceptions will be noted in my running commentary. The final variation trails off into a modulating bridge that conveys us to a bright, syncopated coda in 6/8 time that begins in G major, to somewhat the same aesthetic effect as the slow movement's E major section. The ending is a surprise, and as apt to provoke laughter as applause, or ideally both. Just a word of warning here. As you listen to the theme, whatever you do, do not, in your rich imagination, impose upon it the words, "You are my sunshine, my only sunshine." And by all means, do not trace the contours of that tune with the words, "I have decided to follow Jesus." That would certainly constitute an abomination, and obviously the fact that I'm posting this warning is an indication that the Atheist Codger has at one time or another fallen into both of those traps.